Have you ever wondered if the person who seems too good to be true is actually a narcissist in disguise? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on a particular type of narcissist that might be harder to spot, the White Knight Narcissist. Imagine a figure clad in shining armor, ever ready to rescue the damsel in distress, always there to lend a helping hand. This is the image a White Knight Narcissist projects, but beneath the polished surface lies a complex and potentially harmful personality. A White Knight Narcissist, much like the mythical figure they emulate, presents themselves as the savior, the one who can fix everything. They thrive on the admiration and gratitude they receive for their heroic deeds. But this isn't about altruism or genuine empathy. It's about control, manipulation, and an insatiable need for validation and attention. Understanding the traits of a White Knight Narcissist is crucial. It can help us recognize if we're in a relationship with one, be it personal, professional, or romantic. Awareness is the first step towards setting boundaries, protecting our emotional health, and making informed decisions about our interactions with these individuals. So, what does a White Knight Narcissist look like? They are often charming, charismatic, and appear deeply caring. They may seem selfless, always putting others first, but these are masks, carefully constructed to hide their true narcissistic nature. They use their kindness as a tool to manipulate and control, to feed their own ego, and to create a dependency that keeps their rescuees tied to them. It's important to note that not all those who help others or take on the role of a rescuer are narcissists. The defining factor is the underlying motive. Is it about genuinely wanting to help, or is it about fulfilling their own needs and desires? As we proceed, we'll explore 10 key traits that can help us identify a White Knight Narcissist. From their rescuer complex to their need for admiration, lack of empathy, and exploitative behavior, we'll unmask the reality behind the shining armor as we delve into the 10 key traits of a White Knight Narcissist. First on our list is the savior complex. This trait is a distinctive characteristic of a White Knight Narcissist. They often position themselves as rescuers or saviors in other people's lives. They are drawn to people they perceive as vulnerable or in distress, swooping in to save the day. However, this isn't out of genuine concern or empathy. Rather, it's a way to feed their ego, to validate their self-worth. By playing the rescuer, they create a narrative where they are indispensable, superior, and above all, admired. This behavior is a manipulative tactic that allows them to control the dynamics of the relationship, ensuring they remain at the center of attention. It's not about helping others, it's about serving their own needs and narcissistic tendencies. This leads us to the second trait of a White Knight Narcissist. The need for admiration is another prominent trait of a White Knight Narcissist. This insatiable desire for praise and recognition fuels their actions, often leading them to portray themselves as heroes or saviors. They thrive on the validation and adoration they receive from those around them, using it as a mirror to reflect their own inflated sense of self-worth. While most individuals appreciate a compliment here and there, White Knight Narcissists require constant affirmation. They're like emotional sponges, soaking up the admiration of others to fill their own void of self-esteem. This need can become so consuming that they may even manipulate situations or create crises just to step in and save the day, basking in the ensuing praise. However, this reliance on external validation is a double-edged sword. It leaves them vulnerable to criticism and rejection, which they deeply fear. Now, moving on to the third trait of a White Knight Narcissist. Despite their outward appearance, White Knight Narcissists often show a lack of genuine empathy. This lack of empathy is not always obvious, as it can be masked by their desire to help others. But it's crucial to understand that their help is often self-serving. It's about them, not the person they're assisting. White Knight Narcissists struggle to truly grasp the feelings, needs, or experiences of others unless it serves their own purposes. They may seem interested in your problems, but this interest often wanes once the spotlight shifts away from them. Their ability to empathize is therefore conditional and often fleeting. This isn't to say that they can't show empathy, but when they do, it's typically a calculated move, a way to keep the attention on them, to maintain control, or to manipulate situations to their advantage. Their empathy, in essence, is a means to an end. Next, we look at the fourth trait. The fourth trait of a White Knight narcissist is self-importance and grandiosity. This trait is characterized by an inflated sense of their own importance. They believe they are unique and superior, and thus can only be understood by or associate with equally special people. This grandiosity often extends to their abilities and achievements. They may overestimate their talents and place their accomplishments on a high pedestal, even if these achievements are rather ordinary. Notably, they can also exaggerate or outright lie about their successes, all in an attempt to maintain their self-declared status. This grandiose self-view acts as a shield, protecting them from deep-seated insecurities and feelings of inadequacy. However, this facade is fragile, and any threat to it can trigger aggressive responses. The White Knight narcissist's world revolves around maintaining this grand image of themselves, often at the expense of others. This brings us to the halfway mark. Let's continue to the fifth trait. The fifth trait is manipulation and control. Now, White Knight narcissists are often masters of manipulation, using their charm and supposed altruism to control those around them. They tend to play the role of the savior to gain power over others and maintain their self-perceived superior status. But don't be fooled by their noble facade. Their main goal isn't to help, but to control. They manipulate situations, twist words, and even use emotional blackmail to keep people dependent on them. It's all a part of their grand strategy to appear indispensable. They thrive on this control. It validates their self-worth and feeds their inflated ego. The more they can control, the more powerful they feel. It's an insidious cycle that can be difficult to break free from. So keep in mind, behind every White Knight narcissist's offer to help, there might be an ulterior motive of control and manipulation. We are now moving to the sixth trait. Entitlement is another key trait of a White Knight narcissist. They carry an inherent belief that they are deserving of special treatment. This sense of entitlement is not earned or based on merit. It's simply because they believe they're exceptional. To them, the rules of society and norms of behavior don't apply in the same way. They see themselves as above it all. This feeling of entitlement often manifests in expecting others to cater to their needs without reciprocation. They demand respect, admiration, and even adoration, but rarely give it in return. Their worldview is self-centered. Others are merely supporting characters in the grand narrative of their lives. Such a sense of entitlement can lead to conflicts and strained relationships. They may react with anger or disdain when their expectations are not met. It's a demanding cycle where they constantly expect others to meet their needs while dismissing the needs of others. Now let's move on to the seventh trait. The seventh trait is exploitative behavior. In their quest for admiration and control, White Knight narcissists frequently exploit others. This trait is not as charming as they'd like to believe. They ingeniously utilize people as tools, disregarding their feelings or needs, and often leaving a trail of emotional wreckage in their wake. This exploitation isn't always obvious. It can be as subtle as emotional manipulation or as pronounced as taking advantage of someone's kindness or resources. The key is that it's always self-serving. They extract what they need, and when that's done, the person is often discarded without a second thought. This is a cruel and callous side of White Knight narcissists that contradicts their self-proclaimed heroism. They are not saving anyone, they're merely serving their own needs. Understanding this exploitative behavior helps us unravel the complex web of the narcissist's deceit. Next, we look at the eighth trait. The eighth trait is dependency on others. Let's delve deeper into this characteristic. White Knight narcissists, despite their outward display of confidence and superiority, are heavily reliant on others for validation and support. This dependence isn't necessarily financial or physical, it's predominantly emotional. Their self-esteem is intricately linked to how others perceive them. They crave validation like we yearn for air to breathe. This validation fuels their grandiose self-image and perpetuates their cycle of narcissistic behavior. They constantly seek reassurance of their worth and significance, and they manipulate others into providing this reassurance. Their dependency also extends to needing others to shoulder their emotional burdens. They aren't equipped to handle emotional distress, so they often project their feelings onto those around them. This dependency creates a toxic dynamic where they drain the emotional energy of those they depend on, leaving a trail of exhausted, emotionally depleted individuals in their wake. Now we move on to the 9th trait. Lastly, we have arrogance and disdain. The White Knight Narcissist often wears a mask of charm and benevolence. But beneath that lies a palpable sense of superiority. Their arrogance isn't always overt. It can be subtle, manifesting itself as an undercurrent of smugness or condescension in their interactions. They place themselves on a pedestal, looking down upon those they perceive as inferior. This disdain is not always blatant, but it is always present. It can be seen in their dismissive attitude, their impatience with others, or their tendency to belittle and diminish the feelings and experiences of those around them. It's as if they have a unique, privileged understanding of the world, and everyone else is simply not up to par. This arrogance and disdain is a clear indication of their inflated self-perception, and another piece of the complex puzzle that is the White Knight Narcissist. Let's delve deeper into the reality behind the White Knight Narcissist's facade. Despite their seemingly charming and benevolent exterior, the truth is far from it. This is the facade they put on, a carefully crafted persona designed to manipulate and control. They appear as the perfect person, always ready to help. But this is merely a tactic to draw you into their web. The more you rely on them, the more control they gain. Their arrogance and disdain for others are carefully hidden under the guise of superiority and a false sense of responsibility. It's crucial to remember that their actions are not born out of genuine concern or altruism, but rather a deep-rooted need for admiration and control. Their White Knight persona is not a reflection of their true self, but a mask they wear to hide their narcissistic traits. Unveiling this facade is an essential part of recognizing and dealing with a White Knight Narcissist. So, to summarize, a White Knight Narcissist is characterized by 10 key traits. The rescuer complex, where they pose as saviors, often to fulfill their need for admiration. This is closely linked to their lack of empathy, inability to truly connect with others' feelings. Their self-importance and grandiosity make them believe they are superior to others. Manipulation and control are tools they use to maintain this perceived superiority. Entitlement and exploitative behavior are two sides of the same coin for them, feeling they deserve special treatment and using others to achieve it. Their dependency on others stems from their need for constant validation. Lastly, their arrogance and disdain reflect their inflated self-image and disregard for others. Recognizing these traits is vital. It helps us understand their behavior, identify their tactics, and protect ourselves from their manipulation. Remember, understanding these traits is the first step to dealing with a White Knight Narcissist effectively.